Hello, hello. Okay, we're working on discussion 10, CS61A, spring 2015. I'm Max, and we're going to create an iterator that generates the sequence of Fibonacci numbers. Okay, so reminder, an iterator is something that has implemented the next method. Okay, so we're going to have to write something in here that's going to do two things. Number one, we want to know when we're finished iterating. So number one, are we done? And number two, generate the next value. Also, we need to use our init to keep track of some state. So since we're generating our Fibonacci numbers from the first Fibonacci number, so just a reminder, Fibonacci numbers are 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, and they follow the pattern of I'm adding the previous two numbers to generate the current number. All right, so let's think about how we would do this. So a typical pattern is to keep track of a current and keep track of some next value. So when we're instantiating something, we're going to assume that our Fibonacci numbers, since we're not given no extra arguments, just start at the base Fibonacci numbers, right? So the first Fibonacci number is 0, and the next Fibonacci number is 1. So we'll keep track of just these two. And if we find that we need to keep track of more things, we can just add this to our init. So for now, we're just gonna think about keeping track of these two values, and then as we progress, we might need to add something more. All right, so next, let's think about this first question. We need to figure out whether or not we're finished. So the Fibonacci numbers are an infinite sequence, right? So we actually really don't need to answer this question. Our answer to this question is we're never done. So we're never going to raise a stop iteration exception. So we sort of check that one off. And otherwise, we need to generate the next value. Okay, so what is the next value here? Well, we want to return, on our first call to next, we want to return 0, right? Because that's going to be our very first value. So let's do that. Let's say I'm gonna keep track of some return value. Return val is going to equal self.current. And now how do I update my state? So generating the next value sort of involves updating our state so that our next call to next is successful. So let's say that if we remember what we're doing here, if we think of this as our current pointer and this is our next pointer, then our current is going to become our next on our next iteration. We're going to say current. So self.current is going to be equal to self.next. And let's actually do this all at the same line. Self.current, self.next is equal to self.next. And how is our self.next changing? Well, our self.next is equal to what our self.next was plus whatever our self.current was. So we're going to say self.current plus self.next. And now we can simply return our return value. Okay, this seems reasonable. And so this is going to be our implementation of next. We're changing our state. We've checked to see whether or not we're finished. We're never finished, so we never have to raise a stop iteration exception. And we've changed our state so that our next call to next is going to have whatever the current value is as our return value. Okay. And so we need to return some iter as well to make this comply with the iterable interface. So we just need to return something that has the next method implemented. We ourselves have implemented the next method in this self Fibonacci object, so we can just return self. Great. Okay, so if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them on Piazza or on the YouTube video comments down here. And